Hi everyone, you're welcome back here. So we're going about the quick cutting and sewing of these beautiful tulip short pants you see right here on your screen. So some people actually prefer or call these a skort, but it doesn't really sit well with me with the way it sounds. I'm not saying that is wrong. So but I call mine a tulip short because it is a short which in front has this skirt. So basically if you're coming from the front, if someone should look at you from the front, it will seem like you're putting on a skirt, but when the person looks at you from behind, they will realize or notice is a short. Or when you raise up the front part, as you can see I'm doing right here on the video, it's actually 100% beginners friendly tutorial. So let's get right into the video. So I have this Ankara piece which is a yard, that is 36 inches and 10 inches extra. So it's a remnant of one of the dresses I've made so far, so I decided to just use it to just create this short. So right here now I have this my fabric folded into two. So what I did here was that I divided my hip circumference by 4 and added extra 2 inches, and that was how I got the amount of fold I need. So at this point it was more than enough. So I'm going to start off now by drafting first. So from the top part of this my fabric, I'll rule a straight line, and that will be my waistline, and all my measurements are going to be starting from this exact line. So for the sake of those who will be watching my video for the first time, if you're drafting out your pants or your shorts or your trouser, whatever it is, you have 4 basic lines, which is your waistline, your hip line, your crotch line, your knee line, and lastly the length of your trouser or pants. So because I'll be adding a band of 1.5 inches to this my short, so I'll be subtracting it as I'm marking or inputting the length of my vertical measurement. So the first line I have, which is 8.5, is my hip line. So to get your crotch line, you have to divide your hip circumference by 4 and add 1.5 inches extra to whatever you have. So when I did my altogether, I had 12.5 inches and quarter. Okay, so if it is actually a very high waist trouser, I'll go ahead and add as much as 2.5 inches to 3 inches. I've extended all these lines which I marked out so far. Then on my waistline I marked 1 inch inward from my folded fabric. Then on my hip line I marked ½ inch inward, and on my short length, which is 16 inches, I marked 1.5 inches inward, and I now connected all those lines together. I believe everything I did here is very clear to you all. So I came to that my waistline, I divided my waist circumference by 4 and I marked 8 inches right there, which is what I have. Then this second line now is my hip line. I divided it by 4, which is 10 inches and 3/4. I marked it right there. So the next I came to my crotch line, which is here. I divided my thigh circumference by 4. So what I have there, I marked it as well, as you can see. So the next I'm going to connect these 3 points I have right here now together using this part of my curve rule. So from the waistline I'm going to connect this all the way into my crotch, making sure that it's exactly on those points I have, and you can see it's right there. So after this I measure what I have on my crotch line, and I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches from whatever I have and mark it as a circumference of where my short will be stopping. Okay, so this is it for the front part of our short. Like, we are done drafting the front part of our short. All our allowance will be added to the back part of the short or your pants, whatever it is, whether long or short. That is where all your stitching allowance is usually added. Okay, but if you don't want this pants or shorts fitted on you, you can add extra 2 to 3 inches extra to your actual measurements. Okay, so now I'm going to draft up for the back part of this our short. I have the front part of my short placed on this other fabric, so I was unable to fold it into two because, like I said, this is a remnant of the fabric I used in sewing a particular dress. So if you don't want to have all of these complications or issues, you just have to go ahead and make 3 yards of fabric or more depending on your body size. So from the top part on that waistline I marked 2 inches upward from my short length. Remember that when I was cutting for my shorts, I didn't cut exactly on the waistline. I left half of a knit, which will be for my joining allowance. Okay, so now on the crotch line I'm going to mark 1 inch as well and stop exactly on that cuff part. So from this other part I'm going to mark 2 inches to the very end. Then on the hip side, on that hip side, what I actually marked there was 1 inch. Okay, I marked 1 inch away from my front short. So all these lines now I'm just connecting them together using my free hand. Feel free to also use your ruler in case you're not okay with this. So now I'm going to slant that 2 inches line I have from this my crotch part of my short pant towards the sides into that 1 inch I marked away from the front part of my short. So even if I'm not really explaining this very well, you can see all I'm doing right here is very clear. So after this, that is the only thing, and I went ahead now to cut out. So like I said, because of the fabric I used wasn't enough, I had to cut this separately, I mean for the back part. So I did have my fabric folded into two. So for this part, it wasn't accurate in length with my back short, but I will have to use this fabric to add it up later on. Okay, so the next I'm going to cut out for the tulip part of this our short. So I'm making use of this black crepe fabric. I already explained all of this earlier. My fabric wasn't enough for it, so I had to go for this black crepe, which I also have a black print on my Ankara. Okay, so now I've placed the back part of my short on top of this my fabric. So for this black crepe, make sure that you don't fold it into two, just spread it out as one piece. Okay, so I've traced out the hip part of this my short. Then I'll go ahead now to remove this short I have right here. I also measured out the length. So when you are cutting out for the length of your short, also don't forget to include your hemming allowance. Okay, so I now marked out the length of this tulip part of my short. I just added extra 2 inches. Okay, and I also marked out on the waist exactly where it will be. Then I removed my shorts. So what I'm going to do now is that I'll determine where I want this my tulip to be. So if you want it to be at the center or the middle of your thighs, like at the middle, like sorry, of your crotch, you divide your waist circumference by 4. Whatever you have, mark it right there and add extra 1 inch, just as I've done right here. But if you actually want it to get all the way to the sides, like at your side, okay, you feel free to go ahead and mark your waist circumference divided by 2. So my waist circumference divided by 2 is 16 inches. I added extra 1 inch to this on that waistline. This line now is my waistline. Okay, so I added extra 1 inch to that. Altogether I have 17 inches. So I'm now going to connect this all these marks now together, and I'm going to have more like a block. Okay, so this is it. So because I don't want mine to be straight, I just want to give it a little style in front. You can leave yours like this and cut out. So all I did was that from that hip part of this my fabric, I marked 10 inches inward. Okay, now from that my actual waist, where my waistline stopped, I now curved it into this 10 inches. So it's as simple as that, but it's still totally fine if you leave yours as in straight as it was earlier. Okay, so I'll now cut out the top part. So this is it for the front part of our shirt, and I'll go ahead now to iron this. And also on this slanted part, I'm going to fold it in twice. So I've gone ahead to do this. I've ironed it, and on that slanted part, I've actually gone ahead to fold it twice and stitch as well, as you can see right here. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to start joining our shorts together. Okay, so now this is the front part of my short and the back part still together. I'm just going to place the front panel of my shorts right sides facing each other, and I'll join them together using half of an inch on the crotch, just as I've shown you right here. So I've gone ahead to do this, and when I open this up, this is what I have. So I'm going to measure this out to ensure that is also my waist circumference. So I'm going to get that by black crepe material. So I'm going to be placing it now on the waistline of this my short pants. So the right side of this my crepe or my fabric is facing the camera, and I'm placing it on top of my shorts. That is the front part, and this is the right side of the fabric. Okay, so this whole thing now is right sides facing the camera, both the crepe and also the fabric. So stitch the top part together with the front panel of your short, and also stitch the sides so that they can be together, so you can see. So when I stitch this, my crepe for the skirt or tulip part was a bit longer, but I'll go ahead and trim that off later. I also joined them together on the waistline, as you can see right here. So I now have them as one piece. So I'll get one piece for the back part of my short, and I'm going to place them right sides now facing each other like the fabrics. So thereby the wrong side of this my shorts now is facing the camera. Okay, so I pin them at the hip side, and I also get the other panel of my back trouser or shorts, and I'll also pin it at the hip side. Make sure that the right side of your fabrics at this point are facing each other. Thereby the back part of my shorts now is facing the camera, that's on the wrong side. So after stitching this using half inch at the both sides on that hip part, you can see what we have. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fix our band. So I've gone ahead now to cut out a band that is very long enough to go around this my waist, and I have two of this band. Remember that the height of my band is 1.5 inches. So when I cut out this piece here, I made it 2.5 inches wide, so that by the time I finish joining and everything, it's going to come to 1.5 inches. Okay, so right side of your band facing the right side of your fabric or your short, go ahead and pin it all around on the waist and join it together using just half of an inch. After that, you get your back short on the crotch, you arrange it properly just as I'm doing right here. So this is the wrong side now, right? From the waist I mark down 8 inches, and from that 8 inches I'll join using half of an inch and stop at that very end as I've done right here. I've also stitched my band to the waist part of my short, as you can see right here. So the next is to fix our zipper and also fix the second part of our band. So I'm making use of this red zipper as you've seen earlier when the tutorial was just starting. So I'm going to place it like this, exactly from that crotch, that part that we still have open at our back short, and I'm going to pin this. So the right side of my zipper now is pinned to the right side of my fabric. So I'm going to stitch after pinning and also repeat the same thing for this other side. So when you are done stitching, go ahead and open up your zipper and get the second part of your band, which is what I have right here. So place it now starting from that part where your zipper is fixed, and you now go ahead and pin. But if you don't want to pin, it's totally fine if you can walk freely without pin. So stitch this down after pinning, and then at that top part, make sure it's right sides facing each other. You're going to stitch all the way around to the other side of your zipper. Okay, so this is what I've done right here, just as I explained earlier, and this is what I have so far. So we are done working for the upper part. It's just to finish up the waist part now. So if you stitch and you want to fold in this other part, okay, so you just have to notch that joint you have on your waist so it can go in, and use this other fabric to cover it up, or you can go ahead and weave the edge of this other second band and now iron it together with a hemming gum to your fabric. I've done this countless of times right here on my channel. So I'm going to get the crotch of this my short pants. I'll make sure that the crotch aligns properly on the middle or in the middle, and I'm going to pin. So I'm going to now join them together like this using just half of an inch. Okay, so when I do this, I'll come right here and show you all what I have. So I've gone ahead to do this, and this is what I have. I'm going to flip this now to the front part. Okay, so after this now, I've actually gone ahead to trim the length of this my skirt. Okay, I'll just call it my skirt. So I've gone ahead now to trim the length. So ensure that by the time you trim it, is going to be at least 1 inch above the length of your short. Okay, so when I trimmed and I went ahead to fold, I mean the base of this skirt part. Okay, so when I now folded it, you can see that it's now shorter. Okay, so this will give it this space so that you can freely fold the hem of your short. Okay, so you see what I have right here. So the next is now to fold the two ends or the hem of this our short, and that will be basically all for today's tutorial. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate. If you've come this far watching me and you are yet to subscribe, please kindly do so. I'll see you some other time on this same channel. Have a lovely time ahead of you. Bye.